Welcome Flooring Models, kit review time. Today we've got Kitty Hawk's 1/48 scale. This is the Gripen or the jas-39 BD version. Now we've seen the single seat. This is basically the two-seat trainer or the twin stick version. As you can see, nice box art on the front, some lovely things there, and about it. Now this tends to have more of the exporty type ones down in here. So obviously we've got the Sweden one, we've got the Czech, we've got the Brazilian, we've got the Hungarian markings in the box. Just working our way around, you can see the kit number KH80118. And there's a few more there. So we've got the Thailand one, which is really nice to see. That is actually quite an attractive marking on that one. And we've got the South African one as well. Again, great markings. And as you can see, very nice, as you can imagine, with all these markings. Decal sheet included, and we've got a little bit of Photoetch as well. So, having a look in the box. First thing you notice, actually, is this is quite a heavy box, full of plastic, I should think. So, down in here, as you can see, pretty well stuffed. All right. So the usual thing, we'll just delve past all of this and get to the exciting bits first, and then we'll work our way through the backs. So as you can see, the old instructions, pretty much a standard way that they do it. Okay, so call out for the parts. It's going to be quite modular, this kit, so that's by its nature, because obviously having the different front ends in. Usual thing, as you can imagine, so it's getting straight on with the cockpit. You've got decals for the instrument panels, which is fair enough. Okay, seats going in, side wall, so we have got some nice detail down there, and then working on with the nose bay, again, you've got side walls on those. Okay, and then basically those parts being put in, the front half end going together, so we've got this nose section for the two-seater and the two-seater tub going in there. Nice detail, because we've got actually a radar with detail in there as well. And then it's basically putting all these parts together. So as you can imagine, you're just working your way through those. Engine, we've got a full length engine, which is quite nice detail as well. And then working with the aft section. So obviously down in here, you're putting in the actual chaff and flare buckets, things like that. We've got the inside for the speed brake at the rear and for the other side, and then installing those together. Okay, main wheel wells, that's those being put in. So we've got one each side, and those are fitted to the lower wing section. And then we've got the top halves of the wings going on, and then you've obviously got the actual control surfaces. I don't know if they're two positionable or not. It'd be nice if they are. Down in here, you've actually got then a paper, which is a bit cheap, if we like, but for all these markings. And as I said, they're actually designed as a pull-out, which is a little bit odd as well. That's why you're getting half and half. It's not a misprint, it's just because they've done them as a pull-out so you can pull them out afterwards, which is something I haven't seen before, and I don't like it at all. I don't think that's actually particularly very nice. But as you can see, this Thailand one, which I've got my eye on now, if I was to do it, that's the marking I'd be going in. Very nice on that one. And obviously we've got the South African one there, working its way around, or the more traditional Czech one, as you can see. Moving back on with the build, so the lower wing section with the base marrying up with the top half, okay, and then putting those in. The doors, as I said, completely out of alignment of how you would build it as a model on this one particularly. Looks like got a posable rudder, which is a nice touch. Engine system goes on the back, okay. Pylons all being fitted to the wing sections. Front end going on. Okay, and then obviously you've got things like the intakes going in afterwards. I don't know, might be better to put them in first. Okay, just getting a nice line, a nice join on those, but you'll have to see. All right, and then just going in. Generally the canopy going on, we've got some Photoetch mirrors in, canopy in the open position, obviously it's side folding, and then we've got the normal type things. So as you said, you've got the sort of Maverick missiles, you've got the air-to-air missiles, laser guided bombs. Okay, we've got AMRAAMs, dispenser missiles, and then the actual longer range ones. A little bit of a call out where the weapon fit goes, and that is it. So, quite a promising kit. Okay, but unfortunately we've been burnt by Kitty Hawk before in the past. Having just finished the Jaguar, still getting nightmares over that one. Okay, so first up, looking at the decals, they actually look pretty good. Okay, apart from the bit where I've just bent them, trying to get them out. All nicely in register. The actual printing doesn't look too bad. They look pretty solid on all of those markings, and hopefully, as you can see on all of those ones like that, they actually don't look too bad at all. They are pretty good in all of those, no problem with those at all. Next one up, we've actually got very nice, so we've got the eyes, which quite a famous Gripen on the front canards. And then obviously we've got these ones down here, which is for those displays. So we've got those very large TV screens, some nice full color work in those as well. Again, it's a little bit gimmicky, because if you're having it in the powered down position, they wouldn't be on anyway, but you know, I can understand why they do it. All right, then we've got a bit of Photoetch. So this particular guy here, what this is allowing for is your detail. This will be curved, is actually for the engine, and then we've got all the parts. So you've got the harnesses, mirrors, all the little bits and pieces all over there. Actually not too bad at all. Very thin, a lot thinner than other ones we've seen. It's quite nice. It's in a little Ziploc bag, so we can pop it in and save that one for another day. Okay, so into the kit itself, which is a little bit all over the place, and you can see I've got it here. Normally I don't start with the Canopy, but it's on the top and it's in the cheapest, nastiest bag you've seen. Okay, so whilst it's here, we'll just have a look at it. All right, so that's not too bad. Again, because it's been in a horrible bag and it's thin, it's got little scrapes and scuffs all over it, because this bag is so thin it's not going to protect anything. But you don't have a centre seam line, and generally, looking around in it, as you can see, it's pretty clear. Don't have any problems with that at all, which is quite a nice touch. Okay, so the Canopy gets a bit of a thumbs up, apart from the scratches, which, to be honest, a little bit of work with a polishing stick would take care of that, and you have no problem. So actually that isn't too bad. Okay, next bag we've got here, again, it's horrible bags, cheap, nasty bags. Okay, so down in here we've actually got the lower fuselage, and the thing is, we are going to have to talk about it. Kitty Hawk, let's face it, don't have the best history, shall we say, with model kits. I've built quite a few of theirs now, and to be honest, all of them have had a problem. They're not the easiest kits to go together. A little bit like how Trumpeter were in the early days, and Hobby Boss. Great subject matter, poor execution, i.e. the molds were particularly nasty, little tiny little errors, which are only small errors, but they all added up and turned into quite an annoying thing. This again is another prime example. So if I just drop this top camera down just a little bit so you can see, I don't know if you can pick it up on one of these cameras, but here you've got a mark in the mold, and as I said, the trouble is we've got so many lights in here now, we don't get shadow, so it's very hard to see details. Okay, so we sort of shot ourselves in the foot being so good. But if I just drop this right the way in, okay, hopefully you can see we've got this down here and then goes across. If I catch it in there, all right. Now the trouble with that is that obviously it's a mold mark running right the way through the seam, and this guy that runs down here and up, and it is so noticeable, and generally I just don't like it. That is such a cheap, nasty way of doing it. The mold itself for this one, considering these are like lower half bits, as you can see around it, a little bit of flashes all over it, just not particularly crisp. You know, this bit at the back here, these huge, as you can see, peg marks, okay, which I know which aren't a problem and they can come off, but these are properly in there. These aren't just those little ones, like, to be honest, we've been doing the Meng one recently and they've got them, so it's nothing new, but with their ones, you touch them and they fall off. These aren't going anywhere. These are properly in there. Okay, so you're going to have to physically cut them off. And again, I know I'm being a little bit picky, it wouldn't take 2 minutes to do it, but when you're paying quite a bit of money for a kit, the last thing you expect is have to do a lot of what is manufacturing work, taking these types of things off, okay? But generally, if you look inside it as well, you can see the state of the ejector pins. It looks like it's come out of a really heavy duty sort of press and all those things. All right, so that's my only drawback to it. Generally though, looking around at it, whilst we've got it in the close-up here, you can probably see we've got some quite nice details and everything else on there. Again, you've got the plug there for the actual injection, okay? And then we've got the other half, which again has huge, great ejector pins. All right, and then the details over it. Now, don't get me wrong, the detail itself is very fine. I love the riveting detail. It's very nice over this one. I'm not too sure it has all these rivets on. Does it? I thought it was a modern aircraft. This thing's covered in rivets. I was thinking it'd be more like the Typhoon, where it's a little bit more composite materials, i.e. it's not riveted to death. But generally, again, this one's got it as well. It's got a huge seam, runs down, then comes up, you know, and it's actually a mark in there. This is the panel line running across. This here is the seam line between the two halves of the mold, all right, which isn't nice at all. Anyway, other parts, as you can see down here, looking at these ones, Again, when you're looking at it, it looks just very softly moulded. It's almost like it's a big fat mould squashed in, and away you go. It's not very light, it's not very delicate or refined or anything else like that. Okay, and it's almost to the point where you're expecting it to have a mismold or something like that on there, purely because you feel it should have, just by its nature. Okay, but as you see, you can see it on there. Those parts, just a little bit of flash, various things on there, the usual bits and pieces, because this is just flash, okay, which I know you could easily clean up and take care of. It's just, again, just a little bit rough. All right, so coming into the other areas, okay, staples. So again, with this one, this, to be honest, is a lot better. This here, we got some very nice, you can catch it there in the light, some nice delicate recessed panel lining, which is a lot nicer. This one down here is so fine, it's almost lost in it. It doesn't marry up. So, you know, you see what I mean? You've got, this is a little bit heavier than this is. So it's almost like, we know this came afterwards. It looks like it's from a different aircraft because it doesn't marry up. Okay, again, it's not a mass problem because it's going to be different. You can have intakes in the way and all those things. It's just a little bit awkward the way it is. Again, the mold's a little bit flashy, you can see it over here, but actually the parts have got it all on as well, so they're going to need a little bit of cleanup. This said, you know, I can't keep picking at it. Very nice details in all the molds and the various parts down here. It is quite nicely done. We've got a little bit of wiring detail down in these areas. As you make your way around the entire mold, it's not too bad at all. And the blind side on this side, obviously you've got your ejector pins, but they're not too deep, they're not too much problem. These, again, you've got these huge, like that one's a huge one. I can't even bend it off, you can. Okay, they do come off, you just need to give them a little bit of work on there to actually get those off, which is just a little bit of a you know, not a nice touch. Okay, move the rubbish. Okay, so the wing section, again, we can get the staple out. I hate staples. There's a reason I hate staples. Years ago I caught my hand on one and tore the back of my hand open doing this. Staple in a bag, I didn't see it and it ripped the back of my hand open. Okay, so again, looking down at the wing, so we've got the blind side here, the inside. It looks quite heavily done and everything else, but generally it's okay. But again, just like the Jaguar, the locating pins, if you look at them, none of them are central. So it's like they don't line up, and also they sometimes have a little bit of flash just hanging over the top of them, so it means you don't get a nice positive join. Also, you might be able to see we've got ejector pins down here. Again, these are quite easy, those ones come off, but they'd be a right pain if you didn't notice. Okay, and on here. So anyway, the important side, again, so this actually is very nice, some nice details down there, no problem about it. Nice riveting details, everything actually on this is very nice. This is about where you want to be. It's good depth, good consistency of all the riveting right the way over, absolutely everything, no problem with that at all. Same with the upper wings, they're very thick, don't get me wrong, these are very, very thick. But again, on these upper wings, as you can see them, you know, catching the details in the light there, very nice, no problem with that at all. Again, with the canards, they're very nice at the front, no problem. You know, it's just like, here's a classic example. How the hell you would ever get that out in one bit without using a hot knife? Trick, heat up your blade, stick it down, hot knife through butter, no problem. Don't try and cut that out because it would smash it to pieces, because the gates are just so big and chunky that isn't going to come out very easy at all. Okay, into the detail areas, moving more plastic bits. Okay, as you can see down here, this is where we're getting quite nice. Got some nice details down in here. These are obviously for the main wheel wells. Some nice things going on in there. A little bit of livening up with some dry brushing, an oil wash, or any type of wash in there. That would make that absolutely lovely. The refueling probe is quite nicely detailed. Everything else like that, I think that's actually no problem with those at all. All right, and generally, we don't have ejector pin marks, which is a nice touch. That isn't an ejector pin mark, by the way, that's just a part of the moulding for the inside, and a little bit of detail, although it's a little bit collapsed on this side. Obviously it didn't take well in the mould, but generally you get the point, it's okay. So they're all right. Okay, the wheels themselves, Unfortunately, we don't have weight on wheels. As you can see, they're just normal round wheels. Okay, we've got the gun pod, doesn't look too bad, nice and grilling in there. The sides, the detail, the wheels, these are the inside of the speed brake houses at the back. That's okay, doesn't look too bad, no problem with that. Again, no ejector pin marks for the insides of the doors, they're all okay. Got small ejector pins on the actual main wheels, but that's all right, you could get in those. Okay, again, flash on the tree, but not so many on the parts. There's a little few around, but not too much at all. Just it's a little bit softly moulded. Okay, so in this one, we actually have this is one of these one-part ones which you have to rip open. Okay, so as you can see, this is where we've got some nice details actually. Very nice work on the engine. Unfortunately, you're not going to see it, but there you go, you know it's in there. Got a little bit of a sink mark in each one if you were to have them open. All right, so we've got the control surfaces, don't look too bad. No sink marks or anything else in those. That looks okay. The actual blades for the intakes, for the ram air doors on the front, they look good. We've got the second, or this would be the first cockpit system down in there. First stage blades, things like that, all in there. The nozzle is quite chunky, it's a little bit heavy in that. In fact, it's very heavy, it's a bit thick, but I think it'll be fine. Working our way around, all the electronicsy bits and all the rest of it is all good. Massive amounts of riveting. I don't know if the real thing's got that, I have to check my references. But it looks to be a lot of riveting on this. Unfortunately, we have got ejector pin marks actually inside the intake, but that isn't too bad. That's probably the easiest job to get rid of. The underside's no problem at all. Obviously these engines, you'd have to get rid of these. Leading edge slats, got a small sink mark in the front. How well the light will catch it, you probably catch it there. So there's a sink mark in there. Not so much on this side, although there is a little one. All right, so you might want to just put a dab of filler in there. Again, these are the speed brakes at the back here. I don't know if there's an internal part to it. I'm not going to mention it, but there is ejector pin marks in there if there isn't. I imagine there's probably going to be an internal part in those anyway. All right, so that's down there. Weapons fit, so as imagine you've got all the weapons down here. We're not going to go over it. They're a little bit chunky. Sidewinders aren't too bad. This looks to be very, very thin. In fact, looks like the mold's run out. I think they're okay, but it just looks extremely thin on these guys. But generally, as you can see, the sidewinders aren't too bad. The other missiles, the various rails, they all look to be all okay. Actually, it doesn't look too bad at all, any of those. Those all look very, very nice. It's a shame we've got big ejector pin marks on the blind side of the weapons fit. So we've got some ejector pin marks down here on the AMRAAMs. Sidewinders have got them as well, but you'd expect that in some ways. And I do believe this is just the last for the weapons. So let's get this out where all we could. Okay, so get this guy open. There we go. So usual thing with the weapons fit. They don't look too bad. They actually look pretty good. They don't look too out of place or anything else. Fuel tank, looks like you only get the one. Okay, down in there. Again, a little bit flashy all over some of these details and things like that. But generally, it isn't too bad. I think in a lot of ways it's perfectly adequate, and I think I'll make it up. Talk about large locating tabs for the fuel tank. Look at the size of those, like Lego. All right, and then obviously down on this last one for the smaller missiles, small diameter bombs, things like that. That's all pretty nice. Can't see any problems with any of those. Okay, even these the bomb racks actually look pretty nice. You know, some nice details, some nice riveting, things like that down in there. Again, I think it'll take a wash really, really well. Again, I'm so fortunately, one day they're going to get this right. They're getting better with every kit. This is slightly one of their older kits, to be honest. It's not a brand new release or anything else like that, but I wanted to have a look at it. I think it's one of those kits where if you want a straightforward, quick build, don't do this one because it's going to give you a few little issues, I think, all the way through. If you want a Gripen, this is the only one to go. You've got nice detail and it's a good basic start to a kit. So if you wanted to do it, you could upgrade it in simple ways, put a colour photo set in the cockpit, which I think would do it really nicely. and perhaps a few little bits and pieces and weighted wheels, things like that, to really make it very, very nice. But generally, I think actually it's not a bad kit. So there you go. If you are in the market for a Gripen and you want to do the 2-seat, and I do love the 2-seats, I love the Typhoons, I love the Gripens, and things like that. I think they look really, really nice in the Raphaels. So if you are into those, there you go, the Kitty Hawk Gripen.